We're the place where we sift through interesting stuff, compelling material, really, to bring you the core insights.
Yeah, the aim is always to get you up to speed quickly, make you feel informed.
Exactly. And today, we're zeroing in on an episode from a podcast called The Skill Zone. The episode title was One Skill We're Dying to Learn.
Right. And what really grabbed us about this one was, well, it's a simple setup. You've got two hosts, Alex and Jordan, and each is picking just one personal skill. They're really, really motivated to learn, but very relatable, a peek into their goals and maybe the challenges they see coming.
It really did. And that's why it felt perfect for our deep dive today, because their goals, their anticipated hurdles, I think they echo what a lot of people listening probably experience, when you think about learning something new.
Definitely.
So our mission here is to pull out those key insights. What actually drives us to learn? What stops us? We'll use Alex and Jordan's goals as our kind of case studies.
Sounds good. A roadmap through their learning journeys.
Yeah. So let's dive in. What skill is Alex going after?
Okay, so Alex, he's set his sights on the guitar, starting with acoustic.
Okay. Guitar. Classic choice.
Yeah, and he talks about why. He mentions, that way music has of expressing emotions, stuff that words sometimes just can't capture.
That makes sense.
Plus, he was pretty upfront about, well, the cool factor, just being able to pick up a guitar and play something.
Yeah, can't deny that.
And I think for a lot of listeners, that kind of internal pull, whether it's self-expression or just mastering something that seems, I don't know, impressive, that's a huge motivator, right?
Absolutely. Those intrinsic reasons are often the stickiest, aren't they? Not about getting something, but about the feeling itself.
Yeah.
But Alex isn't totally new to this, is he? He's tried before.
He has, yeah. He mentioned trying it out years ago, borrowed his cousin's guitar, I think.
Right.
But he basically threw in the towel after just 3 weeks.
Only 3 weeks. Wow. Why?
Well, the reasons he gave, I bet they sound familiar to a lot of people, feeling like he didn't have enough time.
The time thing. Always.
The frustration of just not being good right away. That impatience.
Yeah, wanting instant results.
And the physical side, too. Sore fingertips, which is a killer with guitar at first.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And just generally feeling like he wasn't making any real progress, especially with chords. It's like the universal checklist of why people quit learning something.
It really is. And it just highlights that, doesn't it? Right. That first phase of learning, it can feel really awkward, uncomfortable, even like discouraging.
Totally. That feeling of incompetence is a real barrier.
But Alex kind of bumps into an idea here that seems pretty important, right? Something Jordan mentioned.
He does, yeah. Jordan brings up this thing he'd read about the first 20 hours of learning something new often being, well, painful and awkward was the phrase, I think.
Painful and awkward. Okay.
And Alex seems to grab onto that. It sparks this kind of mindset shift for him, this idea that, you know what, you actually have to be willing to, well, his words, suck at it for a while.
Right. You have to embrace the suck, basically.
Exactly. And that reframing, changing your expectations like that, it's just so critical, isn't it?
It's absolutely crucial. Yeah. That acceptance, knowing it's going to be tough initially.
Yeah.
It seems like the difference between sticking with it and just, dropping off.
For sure.
So it's good to hear Alex is planning to approach it differently now. What's the new game plan?
Well, this time, his plan feels much more sustainable, grounded. He's focusing on consistency, like even if it's just 15 minutes of focused practice each day.
Okay, small chunks.
Yeah.
Manageable.
Yeah. And he set a really specific, achievable goal, too. Wants to be able to play at least 5 songs by the end of the year.
Nice. Specific target.
And crucially, he's carrying that mindset forward. Knowing he'll, suck at it for a while, it just takes the pressure off needing to be amazing right away, lets that learning curve happen naturally.
That's such a valuable takeaway for anyone listening who's maybe hesitant about starting something. Small, regular steps, realistic targets, like that 15-minute power principle or something.
Right. That brief daily effort really builds momentum over time.
Agreed. Breaking down that big mountain into little footholds makes it way less intimidating. Okay, so that's Alex and the guitar. Let's switch over. What about Jordan? What skill is he tackling?
Jordan is going for Japanese, learning the language.
Oh, wow. Ambitious.
Right. And his reasons are interesting, kind of layered. He talks about a long-term fascination with Japanese culture, anime, the food.
The usual suspects, yeah.
But it seems to go a bit deeper. He wants richer travel experiences. To actually connect with people directly, not just rely on translation apps all the time.
I get that. that desire for authentic connection when you travel.
And he also just mentioned appreciating the language itself, its beauty. So it speaks to that broader desire, maybe, for a more profound engagement with another culture, another way of seeing the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And he even touches on that bigger idea, doesn't he?
Mm.
How learning a language might actually, like, change how you think.
He does. References that concept that bilingual people might process things differently depending on which language they're using.
Which is fascinating, like
Mm.
getting a brain upgrade, not just new words.
Right. But similar to Alex, Jordan's also dipped his toes in before. It's not his first attempt at Japanese.
Ah, okay. So history repeats itself a bit here.
A little, yeah. He mentions trying things like language apps.
Duolingo, maybe? Or something similar?
Probably.
Yeah.
Watching YouTube tutorials, even bought a beginner's textbook. But he admits he didn't stick with it. Felt really overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed by what specifically?
The grammar, he said, felt intricate. And then, of course, the big one. The 3 writing systems. Hiragana, katakana, and then kanji.
Oh, yeah. That's a lot to face right at the start.
Totally. That feeling of being completely swamped, like you're staring up at this impossible mountain, I think anyone who's tackled a really complex subject can relate to that.
Definitely. That initial, like, whoa, where do I even begin feeling? Like hitting a brick wall. But what's useful here is how he seems to have thought about why it didn't work before. And he's coming up with a different strategy now.
Yeah, his new approach seems much more focused and maybe more importantly, more enjoyable for him.
How so?
He's decided to break it down. Instead of trying to learn everything at once, he's going to concentrate on mastering just hiragana first.
Okay, so same principle as Alex, really.
Yeah.
Start small, build a foundation.
Precisely. And he's also planning to weave it into things he already likes doing, like watching anime but trying it with Japanese subtitles on.
Ah, smart.
Yeah.
Linking it to an existing passion.
Yeah, it seems like a great way to make the learning feel less like a chore,
Yeah.
more engaging. It's about finding what works for you, finding your personal hook to make it stick.
Totally agree. If you can connect it to something you already love, your intrinsic motivation gets a huge boost. Makes it much more likely you'll keep showing up. It really highlights how important personalized learning methods are. So when we look at both Alex and Jordan, these two stories, some pretty clear themes start to pop out, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. You see the parallels. Both were initially really drawn to the skill for strong personal reasons, right? Emotional expression, cultural connection.
The why was clear.
But both also hit those roadblocks early on. Time issues, fear of sucking, slow progress, feeling overwhelmed by complexity.
All the usual suspects we talked about.
Yeah.
But I think the real gold for listeners is seeing how they're both adjusting their approach this time.
Right. It's that shift in mindset that seems key. Both Alex and Jordan are kind of embracing the initial awkwardness now, accepting that being a beginner is, well, part of the deal.
Let's start somewhere.
Exactly. And they're both setting more realistic goals, focusing on consistency over like massive, intense bursts of effort, and actively trying to make it enjoyable and fit it into their lives, not treat it like some separate, painful task.
And the big takeaway message seems to be, it's okay. It's okay to start small.
Yeah.
It's okay to be clumsy and awkward at first.
Totally. What really matters is just keeping at it, persisting,
know.
celebrating those little wins, those small steps forward, instead of demanding perfection right out of the gate.
That willingness to, as Alex put it, suck at it for a while,
Yeah.
that sounds a lot like what people call a growth mindset, doesn't it? Believing you can get better with effort.
Absolutely. It's shifting focus from innate talent to development through dedication and hard work. They're not aiming for mastery tomorrow.
Just steady progress, sustained engagement. And that feels like a really encouraging, achievable message for anyone thinking about learning something new.
It does. And it's also interesting, isn't it, that they both committed to checking in on their progress in 6 months.
Yeah, I noticed that too, like setting a little accountability checkpoint.
Exactly. It makes it feel more concrete, less like a vague wish, turns that intention into an actual plan, a valuable strategy in itself.
It really does. It brings it all together and reminds us that learning isn't really a destination you arrive at. It's an ongoing journey. So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Thinking about Alex wrestling with those first guitar chords or Jordan facing all those Japanese characters, is there a skill you've been wanting to learn, something you haven't quite started?
Yeah, what's your guitar or Japanese?
Right. And inspired by their initial struggles and their sort of renewed smaller step approaches, What's one tiny, manageable first step you could take? Maybe even today.
What's your equivalent of that 15 minutes of practice, or just learning those first few characters?
Exactly. It's just about taking that first step, isn't it? Knowing it's fine if it's not perfect. Just
Beginning.